Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro Moros received in the Miraflores Palace the credentials of the Ambassador of the Republic of Colombia, Armando Benedetti. Iraqi authorities declare a nationwide curfew in the face of the crisis sparked by the Sodrist movement's protests. Angola's National Electoral Commission ratified the victory of the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, following the release of the official results of the general elections held on August 24th. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm lourenco Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro Moros received in the Miraflores Palace the credentials of the Ambassador of the Republic of Colombia, Armando Benedetti. Venezuela and Colombia meet again in a handshake that vindicates the flags of unity of the liberator Simón Bolívar after the breaking of relations in 2019. This event marks the resumption of diplomatic ties with a view of reactivating the economic relations between both countries. The Venezuelan president and his Colombian counterpart, Gustavo Petro, have expressed their will to work on healthy relations based on mutual respect and cooperation. Colombia's ambassador expressed on his Twitter account that at this time we are received at the Miraflores Palace by the President Nicolás Maduro Moros, before whom I present credentials as ambassador of Colombia in Venezuela. We talk about the urgency of re-establishing the bonds of friendship that should never have been broken. The Venezuelan head of state also received the credentials from the ambassador of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Mohammed Salem El Regebi. The new ambassador replaces the Sahrawi diplomat Mohammed Salem Daha Lehbib, who performed these functions in the South American nation since 2013. Venezuela and the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic have maintained excellent high-level relations since 1982, promoting reciprocity ties. Maduro reaffirmed his government's commitment to the cause of the Sahrawi people, while expressing his support for the consolidation of the independence of this African state. We move on to other topics. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, on Monday to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. It is the second such protest this month. Last week, thousands of people marched in several cities of the country to call for the ousting of the Prime Minister. Protesters burned tires and tried to block the streets, provoking minor clashes with the police, who used tear gas to break up the crowd. Protesters blamed the Prime Minister for the high cost of living and the widespread violence. Violence and kidnappings have surged in Port-au-Prince and nearby areas in recent months, with warring gangs killing hundreds of civilians in their fight over territory. Poverty also has deepened, with inflation reaching 29% and the prices of some basic goods such as rice more than quadrupling.
We ask everyone in the 4 departments to stand up against this government, which is killing us. In the country, if we don't stand up against those gangs, they will kill us. They will burn us all. The young people, all the young girls, to stand up against the looting. Those people in the government, they are the ones that have been governing for the last 30 years in the country. They said that the Prime Minister of Haiti, Ariel Henry, and the Director General of the Police are the ones who gave them the order to kill us today. We won't stop the mobilization. This will show them that we are not afraid. We will die standing up.
Systematic violence continues in Colombia with the murder on Monday of a new social leader in the department of Magdalena, the 122nd so far in 2022. According to the Institute for Studies for Development and Peace, in the past, the victim was identified as Neighbor Pertus, was killed by armed men in the interior of this home in the municipality of Remolino. Pertus was a recognized community leader in the village of Santa Rita de Acacias and stood out for leading road and health projects. According to In the Past, so far this year, 122 social leaders and human rights defenders, as well as 1,349 leaders, have been murdered since the signing of the peace agreement. Peru's President Pedro Castillo proposed the reintegration of Chile and Venezuela as full members of the Andean Community, the CAN, in addition to proposing a sub-regional integration mechanism with Argentina. The event was held on the occasion of the transfer of CAN's pro-tempore presidency from Ecuador to Peru. President Castillo declared his government's intention to count on the presence of Argentina in a sub-regional integration project. The Peruvian president made these statements from the organization's Lima headquarters in a meeting attended by the presidents of Colombia, Bolivia, and Ecuador. The Andean Community is a mechanism that promotes the integration and development of the Andean countries, where Venezuela and Chile were part of it, while Argentina never belonged. Chile's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Antonio Urrejola, replied on Monday to the remarks made by the Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro about the Chilean President Gabriel Boric during the first debate of the presidential campaign.
Government of Chile, I would like to make a statement in relation to the remarks made by Brazilian President Bolsonaro yesterday in an electoral debate where he directly accused President Boric of having burned the subway. As a government, we believe that these statements are extremely serious. They're absolutely false, and we regret that in an electoral context, bilateral relations are taken advantage of, and bilateral relations are polarized through disinformation and false news. As has been pointed out on other occasions, disinformation and false news undermine democracy, but also in this case they undermine bilateral relations. We are absolutely convinced that this is not the way to do politics, and furthermore, it is not the way to do politics when we are dealing with two democratically elected heads of state.
Brazilian presidential candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva met with the European Union delegation on Monday, pledging to reinforce environmental controls he says have been undermined by President Jair Bolsonaro. Da Silva said the Bolsonaro administration has led to historical deforestation in the rainforest, with millions of acres of forest cut down due to the illegal activities like mining, ranching, and logging. Deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon during the first half of 2022 broke all the records, a measure of the increasing destruction taking place under the presidency of Jair Bolsonaro. The European Union has urged Brazil for years to curb illegal activities in the rainforest, in sometimes acrimonious exchange that prompted the EU to stop investment in the country until the government imposes serious policies to control the problem. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Iraqi authorities declare a nationwide curfew in the face of the crisis sparked by the Sadr's movement's protest. Iraqi security forces declare a total ban until further notice of movement in all provinces, due to the protests by the supporters of Shiite leader Muqtada al-Sadr. Sadr's supporters assaulted the Iraqi government palace on Monday after the leader announced his withdrawal from politics, while authorities attempt to contain the situation. After the announcement of al-Sadr's withdrawal from politics, Iraqi President Barham Saleh met with acting Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazimi to address the situation and announce a new session of national dialogue this week. According to authorities, more than 20 supporters were shot dead and more than 300 others wounded on Monday as clashes rocked Baghdad's fortified green zone. TeleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied our crew in the last two World Cups. With the football star, we also tour our continent with the show The Zurda Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to write or compose a song for TeleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song, never recorded before or published in any media, and free of legal attachments. Record the song in any format, WAV, MP3, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones@telesur.tvnet with the following information: author's name, nationality, and the name of the song. The closing date for the call for entries is September 10th, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winner winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after the closing of the call, TeleSUR will announce the results. And good news on the Developing Our Song contest for Qatar 2022, which already has over 35 songs submitted from Argentina, Cuba, Colombia, Spain, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Ecuador. In this context, we introduce one of the first 4 musicians who will choose the winning song, famous Cuban singer and songwriter Raúl Torres. Raúl Torres was born in Bayamo, the capital of Granma province in eastern Cuba. Torres has a talent that was discovered by the famous Pablo Milanés, who guided him in the beginning of his artistic career. He was recorded several pieces with founders of the Nueva Trova movement and performed with other great men, the Argentinian Fito Páez and the Spanish Ana Belén and Joaquín Sabina. Among his most relevant songs are Cuba, Candil de Nieve, Se Fue, Regrésamelo Todo, El Regreso del Amigo, dedicated to President Hugo Chávez, and Cabalgando con Fidel, a tribute to Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro after his passing. It is now the turn of Teresa Parodi, singer, author, and composer of Argentinian folklore. Parodi was also the first Minister of Culture during the administration of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Teresa Adelina Sellares, better known as Teresa Parodi, began her singing and guitar studies at the age of 9 with Maestro Blas Benjamín de la Vega. Later, she joined the quintet of Maestro Astor Piazzolla as the guest singer, touring around the provinces of Argentina. In the 80s, she began her career as a solo singer, with the emblematic songs such as Distinto, Oración de Lluvia, Apúrate José, among others. Parodi is one of the most representative voices of Argentinian folklore in her country and the region in the last decades, having won a Carmín de Oro, an award for her career at the National Folklore Festival of Cosquín. Former member of the Chilean band Juanafe, Juanito Ayala, is one of the members of the jury of the Qatar 2022 song. Juanito Ayala is a Chilean songwriter and singer. Thanks to his 15 years of musical career, he has become one of the leaders of the Chilean music with social and dancing themes. He started as one of the main voices of the band Juanafe, which made his work known not only in his country, but also in South America, Mexico, and Europe, popularizing songs like Callejero, La Maquinita, and in his solo career, songs such as Tanta Música, Dos Veredas, and his most recent single, El Gatillo, and Lo Comido y Lo Bailado. Hits that make him one of the most charismatic and representative faces of the Chilean music scene. To finish this first part of the song Qatar 2022 jury members, we will introduce you to Mexican rapper Rodrigo Lopez, known as Lengua Alerta. Rodrigo Lopez, Lengua Alerta, comes from Nacualpan, a city located in the outskirts of Mexico City. From a very young age, he joined rock, garage, and punk bands. In the middle of the 90s, he joined the rock band Tijuana No, a band that from the beginning was characterized by strong political and social criticism. Already starting his career as solo artist, Lengua Alerta gets fully involved with the sound system culture originally from Jamaica, performing in public spaces, urban and rural stages, to take his lyrics and the sound to cultural forums as well as to indigenous and autonomous communities. Among his most outstanding singles are Aurora, Tu Nombre, and A Recuperar. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Angola's National Electoral Commission ratified the victory of the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, following the release of the official results of the general elections held on August 24th. According to the electoral body, the elections were the closest in the history of the country, where the government party obtained 51.17% of the valid votes, which ratifies Joao Lourenco as the president and consolidates the majority in parliament. The main opposition party, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA, obtained 43.95% of the votes, which places it as the second political force in the nation.
The plenary of the National Electoral Commission proclaims as President of the Republic of Angola Joao Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, head of the MPLA Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola political party, with the most votes in the general elections of August 24 of 2022.
The United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Chief, Martin Griffiths, told the Security Council that the people in Afghanistan continue to face extreme hardships and uncertainty. The UN official said that close to 19 million people are facing acute levels of food insecurity, including 6 million people at risk of famine. Some 24 million people, which account for half the country's population, need humanitarian assistance, and an estimated 3 million children are acutely malnourished. The Humanitarian Affairs Chief stressed that Afghanistan's crisis is not only a humanitarian one, but an economic, climate, hunger, and financial crisis. However, he said it's not a hopeless crisis.
They include over 1 million children estimated.
And the trade between China and members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, continued to grow in the first 7 months of 2022. Chinese Assistant Minister of Commerce Li Fei said that since the beginning of the year, China and Asian countries have carried out pragmatic economic and trade cooperation in various fields, implemented the regional comprehensive economic partnership in a high-quality manner, steadily advanced the Belt and Road Initiative, and continuously promoted infrastructure connectivity. Li also said that the cumulative two-way investment between China and ASEAN surpassed $340 billion, making China and ASEAN the most active partners in mutual investment. China criticized the Australia-UK-US Trilateral Nuclear Submarine Cooperation, AUKUS, during the 10th review conference of the parties to the Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, and worked to include the issue in the draft final document. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said on Monday at a press meeting in Beijing that the US, the UK, and Australia had no reason to obstruct China's proposal to establish an open and inclusive intergovernmental discussion, a process regarding the AUKUS nuclear submarine cooperation. The Chinese official ratified that nuclear submarine cooperation between the US, the UK, and Australia could pose grave nuclear proliferation risks. Now we move on to other topics. Russia's Defense Ministry spokesperson Igor Konashenkov confirmed that Russian forces shot down an Ukrainian unmanned vehicle which was trying to attack the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant.
The drone was shot down by small arm fire while approaching the Special Building No. 1, which stores American-made nuclear fuel and solid radioactive waste. The drone, shot down by Russian servicemen, fell on the roof of Special Building No. 1. Serious damage and casualties were avoided. Shelling by Ukrainian troops of the city of Energodar, located near the nuclear power plant, does not stop over the past day. Ukrainian artillery fired 8 large-caliber shells at residential areas of the city. There are wounded among the civilians. 2 shells exploded in close proximity to the perimeter of the nuclear power plant.
TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on the screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now, more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in other farther away nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.
Who's moving the chessmen? What interests the most?